So, as we begin today's program, we would humbly pray and commit the session into the Lord's hands. Precious Jesus, we want to thank you for today. We pray committing today's program into your hands. We ask that you give the host the wisdom, the knowledge, the means to communicate for everyone here to understand. We also pray you give everyone online the ability to comprehend that which is being dispensed. And we thank you for excellence in success in our diverse and various fields. This is what we ask through your Son, Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. We thank you. Amen.
Amen. Amen. So we apologize for the delay in the time. I think some people are still joining, but we'll have to start. All right. So kindly confirm if you see my screen. Can anyone see my screen?
Sure, we can see your screen.
All right, thank you very much. All right, so just to keep us in the spirit of literature, I would want to just go through a few questions. I think for most of us here, we are students, and even if you're a worker, there's some literature you do somehow. So just to keep the ball rolling, we want to just answer these few questions within about 10 minutes. So I would kindly indulge your activity. If you could answer this, maybe take a pen and paper, or you could type it somewhere within just 10 minutes, and then we'll start the program whilst we wait for the others also. All right. I think we should be done by now. Or do we need some few minutes? Okay. All right. So I think 10 minutes is up. We can start or proceed. So today, if we are here, we are just to study some little bit about literature review. So we just titled it Navigating the Literature Maze. So that's just the whole purpose of why we are here. So can I have someone who would voluntarily share their response with us? You could take any number and then just share your response with us. What was your response, or what were your responses? Any volunteer? Okay, maybe I should stop sharing so I can. Yes. Anyone want to share? You can type it, you can also unmute and then go ahead. Anyone? I hope I can be heard. Hello. Okay, so we have an answer from Rebecca to the question 4. Companies related to automobile and electric aviation industries will be interested in my research. Okay, that's very interesting to know. Any other person? Let's try and make this session very interactive. Okay, so we all benefit from each other. If you are shy to unmute your mic, you can always type it. I'll read it from the chat box. Okay, so I'll share the questions again. Response. I'm waiting for a few responses before we officially start. You can pick any number and then give me your answer. So question 4 was, who would be interested in this research and why they would be interested? Okay. Any other person? Question 6. Question 5. How long will you spend? Do you want to spend on your research project? Michael says 6 months. Wow. That's almost a semester, if I'm right. Yes. Any other person want to share your answer to any of the questions? Oh, the question looks blurred. Wow. Okay, let me screenshot and send it to the chat box. Okay, Paul raised up his hand. I think you
Yeah.
can.
All right. Thank you so much. There's a question on how much time do you need to read the literature before proposing? I think that's question 9.
Question 9.
I believe that to answer that, yes, to answer that question effectively, it would depend on the level of knowledge or the level of understanding that the researcher has in that area of research. If the researcher has some good level of or some excellent level of understanding of what is really in the body of literature or the body of knowledge, then that researcher may use just a few weeks or months to just propose an idea. But then if the researcher doesn't have has little to no understanding as to what exactly is in the body of literature, then it's likely that the researcher may spend a number of months, 3 months, 6 months, to just be abreast with whatever that exists in the literature in order to build on that particular gap that you want to. So that is an answer that I'll give to that particular question.
Wow. At this moment, I feel like I should hand over the rest of the tutorial to you. Yes, the researcher in this case is you. So we are trying to make it as personal as possible. But yes, the answer you gave is very, very, very on point. That's very true. The amount of time to take you to do your literature depends on your level of understanding. And we'll go deep into that. Thank you very much for any other person. I'll take 2 more people and then we'll start. Okay. Seems people are shy in the room. Any other person wants to share? Isaac said 3 months. Wow, that's also very good. The faster, the better. I'll take 2 more answers. Randomly, you can choose any of the questions and then just speak about it. Okay, there's one more answer. 4 months for question 22, which says, how long will it take to complete that project from start to finish? 4 months. Wow. I think very soon we should reduce the PhD to 1 year. Since people are finishing the literature in 4 months. That's good. That's good. It's very impressive to hear such answers. One more person, and then we'll go into the business of the day.
Can I be heard? If I can.
Yes,
I think.
go ahead.
Okay, I think let me combine the 16 and 17. How did your research projects change, and does writing help you clarify ideas, and how?
Yeah.
I would want to use myself as a personal example to this. When I started my PhD, my research area or focus of interest was leadership. But after I got in touch with my professor, he made mention of the fact that, you know what, the body of literature when it comes to leadership is so broad and so ambiguous, and it will be very difficult for you to, you can write a research paper, but then the aspect of this professor was to publish. If it comes to publication, it will be quite very difficult for you to do that. So why not we do something in another sphere or another area? That was entrepreneurship. Now, mind you, entrepreneurship and then leadership has some, they are quite different areas, but definitely they may have some similarities that may, fall in line. And then that was how my research project changed. But then, does writing help you clarify your ideas? Of course, yes, I would say yes. And how? Because trust me, when I started reading literature or papers on entrepreneurship, my understanding was so, it wasn't bad, but I mean, the level of understanding that I had in the space of literature has now improved. And that has made me realize what exactly entrepreneurship is all about. And specifically entrepreneurship, there are a lot of areas to specialize on. And I was made to specialize on team formation or team building when it comes to entrepreneurship teams. All right. So reading the literature and writing helps you to clarify ideas that you may not even think of. Now, there's a professor that says that there are instances where you have an idea in mind, but trust me, after reading the literature and writing your paper or your project, that idea is still in your head. Now, the main point is that as you are reading the papers, you get to realize that this idea is gradually pulling away from what exactly you wanted to do. So this is what I would want to say, combining the question 16 and that of question 17, please. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for TNU Fitness. Question 14. I've read it, but I didn't really get the answer. Maybe you can rephrase so that we understand. But for question 12, the same person says, my supervisor's current research interest. Yeah, for most of us, we are not independent researchers at the moment. So mostly our research topic is forwarded by our supervisor. That's very, very true. Okay, so I think we can move on. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is what a lot of people are trying to do these days, which is trying to automate the whole literature review process, right? Because for some reason, some of us don't like to read or find it difficult to understand what we even read, or in terms of writing, we don't even know how to go about the writing. So due to the rise of a lot of GPTs, we have various softwares coming up trying to automate the process. So I saw this particular interesting image and I wanted us to look at it clearly. So it says the effortless literature review. So very catching for you to be able to buy into whatever they want to sell, right? So it says you start with finding the seed from Google Scholar, whatever that means. You find a seed, whether you are to sow that seed or not, we don't know. Yes, so you find a seed in inverted commas from Google Scholar, which is finding a particular literature or paper that represents the idea of what you want to build. That's what finding a seed, or to my understanding, that's what it means. And then you put it into a certain form of GPT or automated system so that you find the relevance in that particular seed or that literature paper that is like a representative of the whole body of literature that you want to explore further into. And then you link it to a reference manager, which is Zotero. And then you can be able to discover relationships between some of these papers, because once it's a seed, it will go and develop other papers. So the relationship between these papers, you can use softwares like Litmap, Connected Papers, Research Rabbit. For those of you who are not here in the previous session, we discussed extensively some of these software. Yes, so once you've done that, you can have a certain filter which will limit all your reading to about 20%. That sounds impressive. If, for example, I have 100 papers and I can filter out to read only 20 papers, it makes my reading a little bit easier, right? And then I can take notes with softwares like Obsidian, and then I can write. This is very perfect and practical for some people, but for some very, very technical fields, this is impractical. No matter how you try to automate the process, there must be a certain level of human interference to control at each stage, right? So even though maybe in the near future, we'll try to achieve this as effortlessly as possible, I still think we have a long way to go, right? Yes. So of course, some may use Google Scholar, some may use other things. So it's just a representative of trying to automate the whole process. Okay. So this is something I want us to discuss further, which is how do we read a paper? How do we read a paper? That's, I think, a challenge for some of us, or let me say all of us. So just addressing what Paul said earlier, the number of hours that you spend on the literature depends on the level that you already have, right? So for me, this is what I would say. I group reading of the literature in 4 stages. So there's that first stage where you are just downloading paper because your supervisor says read. And you are just doing casual searches, trying to find the trends, you are trying to find your topic, the research area, build the idea and all that. But at this stage, mostly it will be followed by your supervisor. That's if you work very closely with your supervisor. So it's what your supervisor says or what you read and the follow-up of other papers. At this stage, you are just reading. So in this stage, what I would advise anyone is just read the abstract, introduction, and conclusion, and have nothing to do with the paper. So if you read 4 papers, you should be able to have an idea of what is going on at this stage. If you try to go deeper and look at other segments of the paper, you may get confused, or you may get an understanding that is superficial. But if you are technical or you have much experience in the field, you would understand the paper more clearly. So at this stage, if you know you are in this segment or you are at this level where you have no idea of the field, you have, it's just your supervisor pushing you to read. What I would advise you is just to read the abstract, introduction, and conclusion. Don't touch any other place, okay? So once you've done this for quite a number of time, you will see certain definitions, you see certain names, you see certain words that keep repeating across all the papers, even if it's in the introduction, the abstract, or sometimes just the title. You see certain words that repeat, and you can collect them. That's why I say the keyword stage, okay? So at this level, you are focusing on certain words, and then you go and look for the meaning. So these are usually technical words that are within a field. So you will not see it any other place, or even if it's another place, it has another meaning. But in the context of that particular research area that you are in, it's better to focus on the keywords and keep them. At this stage also, you can try and go into the literature, because the literature is as broad as possible. It's supposed to use friendly terms that beginners should be able to follow. And it also gives you certain names that are popular in the field. So if you should read 4 or 5 papers and you see certain names that are popping up, this gives you an idea of who to follow or which papers to actually follow in that line of research. So you've moved from 2 stages. Gradually, you are becoming an expert in that field, as they usually say. So once you've moved from the keyword stage, you also have a lot of terminologies. You can also explain some graphs. You can also use some words or jargons within that particular field. Then now you can look at the methodology, the recommendations, and further study within the papers. Okay, Why methodology? Methodology gives you some theoretical background, gives you what tools to use, what equipment, what kind of methods are used within that field. And then also the recommendations of further study also gives you some ideas you can think about. So this is where someone stopped within that particular field. Of course, because you are a researcher that is supposed to add to the knowledge, you can get some initial ideas from the further study or recommendations. That's if the paper has that section. And then you come to the decision stage where you look at some people's results and you feel like, okay, I can add something to it, or you look at the discussion and then you try to get how to discuss certain figures, how to discuss certain data, and how to also from the conclusion where the field is actually moving to. So this cycle keeps going on and on and on and on. So even within 4 months or even within 3 months, you should start from a certain point, a curious stage where you knew nothing, to a stage where you are focusing more on the literature, to a stage where you now go into the methodology and further study, or you look at the recommendations given by the experts to help you kind of build a topic or things that have not been done in the field that you can build upon. And then once you have gained some muscle or some flesh in the field, then you can now go deep into what the results mean, the discussion, and then the conclusions of whatever the papers have given. So before I continue, is there any question concerning this? There's something you need me to clarify concerning this particular cycle of reading a paper? Anyone? Is it clear also? You can tell me it's clear, I should move on, or there's a part that feels not right, you want us to discuss further. Okay.
I think we can move on.
Yeah, if it's clear, then I want to ask, at which stage is each of us in? You can put it in the chat box now. Are you in stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4 of your literature? Isaac, you can go ahead.
Okay, so my question is that you mentioned that you start and you'll be doing some kind of random but targeted reading where you'll be looking at just the abstract, introduction, and conclusion. Now, as you move into the other stages, will you come back to these papers or you'll be looking forward to other papers?
Okay, so to answer that question, each paper that you take, you are supposed to go through the 4 cycles. Each paper you take. So if you have 10 papers, with your first search, maybe today, let's say today, you decide to go into Google Scholar or any of the databases and you downloaded 10 papers randomly because it just has, let's say, machine learning in the title. So you just downloaded any paper that has machine learning. When you open the paper, if you are in the first stage, that's if your level of expertise is within the first stage, then you have no business with anything in the paper. Don't even look at the figures. Just look at the abstract, focus on the introduction and then the conclusion. So you read that, you keep a record of that, and then you put that paper away. Then you go to the second paper, and then you do that. But if you are in that stage of the final stage, which is the decision stage, you download the paper, you are not focusing so much on the abstract, introduction, and conclusion. You go deep into the results because you know the background, you know the literature, you've read quite a lot in that area. You have some level of exposure in that field. So your focus, of course, you can glance through every part of the paper, but your focus is you stop at the results. Okay, so this result, did they get this 70% accuracy? So can I increase it to 80%? So that's what you start thinking about. You look at their discussion. Is it sound or is it something I can do? Once you are reading that part of the paper, it gives you idea because from the decision stage, you have to move on with your research. So if tomorrow you also download 10 other papers, at which stage are you? and then you focus on a particular section of the paper. Of course, you can look at other parts, but what will be more of interest to you or beneficial to you to move to the next stage of the reading of the paper is depending on which level you are currently. I don't know if that answers your question or I deviated from the question.
Okay, thank you. It's okay.
Okay, so I'll give another example. I was having a conversation with one of my teachers, and we were trying to compare. He asked me, how many papers do you read a week? So I sat down and I was like, okay, I read about roughly 20 papers a week. And then he smiled. And he says, I read 100 papers a week. That's what he said. So that's actual reading. He reads 100. But if he should come to casual glancing, it's more than 100. So he is someone who has over 10 years experience in a particular field. So when he reads, he opens a paper, he's not going to look at the literature because perhaps the literature is someone he knows. He can just WhatsApp the person or text the person. Somebody that he has that close relationship with. He knows the people with that, within that field. He has seen the literature over and over. So he's just going to the results. Okay, so as a professor, I've seen this result has been done at 70%. So I'll just help my students to do it to 80%, and that adds to the literature. So he's just going to the results, some of the discussion, and then the discussion will give some challenges that if he feels he can solve, then he would be interested in that kind of research and perhaps give it to his students to follow up on that particular research. He will not go looking for keywords and trends or whatever, or look for ideas from people. No, he has been exposed to that field for a long time. So much of his work will be on the results. Perhaps the methodology, he knows it already, or perhaps he even developed that methodology. So there's nothing new he can read from another person. Well, yes, but what I'm trying to say is depending on your level of your expertise or exposure within that particular field that you are in, your focus or your attention or where you spend most of your energy during reading should differ. Okay, so I hope that's clear. Yes, I asked the question, at which level is any of us in? You can put it, you can type 1, 2, 3, 4 in the chat box. We jumbled all the 4 stages together. Yes, yes, that's true. That's what a lot of us do. But that's not, it's not bad, just that you may throw away papers that are important to you simply because you are not at that level to understand the paper well. Okay, so if it's a purely theoretical paper, in the future, you may need it for your theory or background session of writing your own paper. Okay, but maybe you saw that paper at the curious stage. So everything there is like tumbled on you. You don't understand anything. Okay, but if you are at that level of stage, let's say at the stage 3 or stage 4, and you saw that paper, you appreciate it more, and perhaps it will be part of the literature that you believe that you can use. Right? Okay, stage 4 for someone. Okay, that's very good. So moving on, this is just some few tips, okay? When you read a paper, you should try as much as possible to summarize the paper, okay? And in my initial stages of research, what my teacher did was every paper I read or every paper she gives me to read, she'll make me rewrite the paper from introduction to conclusion. That was the old ways, but yeah, I think it helped me also. So you rewrite the whole paper from start to finish. That's what she used to advise me to do. But I think that's too much. What you can do is you can read and summarize it in your own words, as we always say, summarize in your own words. If there are some key parts of the paper that you really liked, you can also note it down. Maybe the figures, the flow of the language, you can note it down. Oh, I would like my paper to look like this in the future. So you're admiring such a quality in that paper. You should also note those down, okay? You should also read papers and keep everything within a table. So if you have an Excel sheet, you can read and then keep a track of it. So I just gave a sample of such a table. So you keep the title, you keep the author and the year, you keep the research lab as much as possible, because when you are new in that field, you don't know anyone. You don't know if it is XY et al. Or ZA et al. Who is good in that field, or who is generating a lot of trends in that field. So you can keep the research lab as much as possible. You can write your own comments about the paper. I did not understand this paper. It's a comment. You can put it there. Oh, the figures are so nice. You can put it there. Any general comments. The formatting was so bad. Yeah, any comment that you have or any impression that you have about the paper, you can put it down and then keep a record of it. If you can add the date also, very good. Abstract, introduction, and conclusion, very, very important, especially at stage 1. You can keep that. So this table will expand once your maturity also expands. You look at the method and theory, whatever method and theory they claim they use, you can put it there. Problems and solutions. Did you find some problems in the paper where they actually solved or they were not solved? You can also use such a table to summarize all the papers that you have. So when you go back to a paper that you have read before, you have a certain knowledge about it. And at which level you approach that paper, you can further move on to the next stage. As much as possible, we should try and read papers within reference managers. This one, I'm not sure a lot of people do it, but so some of us print out the paper and then read and underline and all that. That's fine. That's not a problem. But if you have a reference manager, you can comment within the reference manager. Everything is in one place. Okay, so it keeps all your work together and tidy. Because trust me, you read a paper this month and next month, you try and recall, where did I read this idea from? And you just cannot find the paper. So once everything is within the reference manager, the comments, everything, you save it there, it gives you the freedom to even highlight sometimes, and everything is in one place. These days, all the reference software managers can be connected online. So you can access it from any computer, not necessarily the first computer you read it from. So it's carry as you go, it's in the cloud. You can also categorize papers by topics, level of difficulty, or by the content. So if you create a folder, you can create it as difficulty, medium, easy, or hard. You can have folders like that. So you know that this paper, for example, the papers that were written in the early 18th centuries, they are very, very theoretical. So maybe not easy to understand once you start, but you can put them in the hard session folder, and then with time, you can virtually need it, because you need them when it comes to the theory and the background of everything that you are trying to innovate. Okay, another question you can ask yourself is, can you explain every table or figure in the paper in your own words? Or can you even replicate some of these data? Okay, so if there's a data in the table form, can you change it to a figure? That's something you can try and use to build your skills. Do I have the skills to even do that? So you ask yourself these questions, because eventually, even if it's a thesis or it's a paper you want to publish, you need skills to replicate such images or similar images. So at the beginning stage, you ask yourself these questions. Can I replicate such a table? How do I replicate such a table or a figure? And like I said, on the set point, you have to know which stage you are in, so that you know how to go or zoom in into a particular session. You can quickly glance through the paper, but if you are a beginner, you should take your time and understand the abstract, the introduction, and the conclusion. If you are a much more matured person, you should focus on the results and conclusion. Any questions till now? Any additions at all? Because I can see there are big men and women in the room. Can we move on?
Hello, I have
Hello.
a question.
Yes.
My question is, let's say, example, you realize like I'm working on something, and then what I'm working on is more like you find out the information around that thing for the discussion part, everything from the experiment part is kind of limited. It's not really too much. But then the paper needs to be expanded. So in such a case, how do I go around it? and try to get more information so that I will not go out of the topic, but then still within the topic, but then getting more information related to that.
Okay, that's a very good question. So how do you handle limited information? I think that's the whole general question. So what I would advise, maybe my answer is not correct, but what I would advise is you spend more time in understanding the theory. From one particular benchmark theory, you can develop so many results. You can develop so many ideas. You can develop so many innovative techniques, even from that particular theory. So let's say that I want to build a rocket to space. Okay, this rocket only depends on air, okay, only air. Whatever I'll do, there will be some Newton equation somewhere. There will be some basic theory that governs that field that I will need. So if you have limited, why is the data limited, or why is the information limited concerning that area? It's because people have not spent so much time to develop the underlying theories to further expand it. So if you should go back into, okay, so I ask myself, how can I use machine learning to further develop the Newton's second law of motion, for example? Okay, so in limited data, sometimes it's limited. You can't do nothing about it because, for example, that particular field is now growing. Yes, but if it's going from a certain source. That source is always some theory that was developed so early in the past. Okay, even for AVs and all this machine learning started as far back as the 18th and 19th century, or even before that. But it took time for the whole concept to be developed such that people can pick it up and now put it in diverse fields. So one advice I'll give in such a situation, when the data is limited or the information is limited, go back to the theory, spend more time on the theory. Perhaps in the discussion with people who are knowledgeable, you get different techniques, and perhaps it could become a patent or your own customized approach based on that particular theory. So we build on whatever our predecessors have given us. We are just standing on their shoulders. So if you don't stand on their shoulders, then whatever you may do may look fancy at the top, but if there's no core, it will crumple. It will be exposed by just one question in the panel judge, and you feel like whatever you have done is not important. But if you have some core understanding of the theory, it gives you ideas on even how you can apply it into other fields or to make or generate new data. So now you will be the person who will be generating data or some information concerning that field, and other people will cite you. Yes, but in general, sometimes it's limited. You just have to find other ways or try to connect one field to another field. Okay, so let's say you are doing, you're in the social sciences. You are doing something like, I'm not a social scientist, so I don't know. But a particular topic is so limited in social science. You ask yourself, can I bring it to economics? Can I apply it to some other field? Or can I borrow a concept from another field and then help to increase whatever limited data I have in my field? So there you have to be reading generally and quite broad to see, okay, this particular technique has been used in, let's say, animal science, but if I bring it to social science, it can further increase the data that I want to do. That's my 2 cents. Any other question? If not, we'll move on. Okay, no question. So in a typical paper, we have different parts of the paper, right? The title, abstract, introduction, literature review, methodology, and all that. So let's just focus on the literature review because that's the focus of this particular gathering. So the first question we ask in any literature review that you want to do or write is the research topic. Is it within a scholarly context, or you just feel like it's an inspiration? I want to just do it. And we have no basics in literature. We have no academic pursuits that can align with that particular idea. So like I said, I want to go to space with just air. It's feasible, but once I enter into the atmosphere where there's no air, what do I do now? So I have to put in other things that would provide that air that will fuel my rocket. Okay, so everything that we do, that topic must be within an academic concept or a specific research area that we can align your topic in. So your topic can be fit under a certain area. Your literature review should provide a comprehensive background information to evaluate the current research. So literature review is giving us a story of the past and then the present, and sometimes to give us an idea of where the future will go. It's like a historian. So you just give us a true picture of what has happened in the past concerning that particular topic or area. And then you give us the current things that people are doing, and then you propose something that should happen in the future. Of course, you must take key note of the very important findings. So at every stage, let's say transportation, we used to walk, and then we came to horses, then we came to carriages. So these are all landmarks, but in between, of course, there were some innovations being done. And then we came to the steam engine, then we went to space and all that, the rocket engine and all that. So there should be landmarks in your literature review that we can move easily in between. You can say, okay, in this century we had this, in this century we had this. This should be clear in your literature review. And of course, just don't read the paper and summarize it. Also understand what is going on and try and criticize it. We'll go into how to do that very soon. But a lot of literature is just like reading a story. Okay, so let's say Bruce et al. Did this, and then the one reading is asked, and so what? In 2017, let's say Paul et al. Did this, and then he asked, and so what? You are just giving an account of what is going on. At every stage, he did this, so what? Okay, so we should be able to highlight these historical findings. However, we should also criticize it. If he did this, what challenges did he bring? Or what did his findings see? After finding this thing, did he pose another question for people to now solve? How did it go and all that? So you should think along whatever you are reading. Just not tell us that Bruce did this and then you end there. No, you should tell us what he did and of what relevance has it contributed to the whole journey of the literature that we are talking about, right? And of course, it should flow in a well-organized manner. Don't talk about 1957 and then now go to 2005 and come back to 1685. That's if you are following the timeline of, you're using a timeline. But of course, sometimes you can cite in between different years. But it should flow in a well-organized manner that we read the story that you are trying to tell us and we understand, oh, okay, this is what happened. The person didn't bath before, or he didn't dress before bathing. No, you shouldn't have that kind of, you should bath and then you dress up, right? Yeah. And it should include up-to-date studies as much as possible within a 5-year period of when you are writing. There should be a lot of literature also coming in from there, unless you have that special case of what happened where a lot of the literature is limited. But if you write a literature review and within the 5 years, previous years, you don't have much of it within your literature, maybe about 50% or 30% or 40%, giving us up-to-date studies, then your literature is not important because somebody would have given a more up-to-date literature about that. You should also have research questions. Okay, before I move on, any question? I'm going as slow as possible so that we can all go together. I'm sure some of us, this is quite boring, but we are building gradually. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
I don't know if you can hear me. Okay, so my question is, let's say you are trying to write the review of whatever you have read about and before you get into your work. but you realize that, okay, you want to maybe criticize their work or trying to explain some challenges they face, but you realize that, okay, your work actually doesn't even supersede their own in a way. Like their own is like in 2008, and you're trying to explain how they went about it and their challenges and how their work was not perfect. But then at the end of the day, what you are also trying to implement in your work is also doesn't supersede their own. So in that way, how do you go about it then?
Okay, that's a very good question. So literature, we always say is incremental, okay? However, when we use the word criticize, it doesn't mean, okay, say their work is bad. No, no, no. What we mean is discuss the work. So they had challenges, they had limitations. If not, that particular field would have ended immediately that paper was published. It means they solved all the problems within that area, which is not the true picture, I believe. So when we say critically discuss, it doesn't mean that just say their work is bad and then you end it there. No. Okay, let me give an example. So you can say in 2016, let's say Bruce et al. Discovered a new vaccine for COVID. This is you've captured the whole literature. Now you want to discuss. However, during testing, they realized that 50% of those who took the vaccine in the initial stages had malaria. Okay, so you are criticizing. Therefore, this brought a challenge for a new vaccine to be created to address malaria. So what are you trying to do there? If you know that your work that you are coming to do is to develop a malaria vaccine, you have given us a justification of why your work is important. Just by taking somebody's Bruce et al.'s work in 2016, where they created the virus, the vaccine to cure a certain virus, let's say COVID. And then in the testing, they realized that, okay, the virus worked, but 50% of the people who had the virus had malaria also, maybe in the next 3 months. Therefore, there needs to be a vaccine to be created. Whether you will create a vaccine that will cure the malaria 100% or not, that doesn't matter. You are going to create a vaccine. So somebody will also cite after you and say that, okay, this guy, et al., 2019, created a vaccine to combat the malaria parasite that came from the COVID virus. However, it also created, let's say, cough. So he is also going to create a cough vaccine. So it's incremental. So you just don't criticize someone's work. You criticize because you want to expose a part that you will solve. If you expose a part that you will not solve, then you are not saying anything that is important for that particular literature review. They could have challenges or limitations in their work, but if it's not linked to what you want to do, then there's no need to mention it. I don't know if you understand. Perhaps in the protocol of developing the vaccine, they realized that the vaccine was so expensive. If you are not going to bring a less expensive vaccine, then don't state that particular thing concerning that paper. You can say other things, but whatever you say must expose a part of the work that you are going to solve. As to how you are going to solve it, whether you will solve it perfectly or not, that doesn't matter at the literature review stage. You are just exposing a part that you believe you can solve. So the criticism is supposed to expose a part that your research is directed towards. If it's not directed towards that, you have no business recording that. You are not a historian, you're a researcher. So give us that part that's supposed to help you build a justification for your work in the next phase. As to whether you do it, we cannot tell the future, but you believe you can solve that problem of malaria. So just state that in the work. But if it's not a limitation you can solve or you are trying to solve, then don't state it concerning that particular work. I hope that's clear. Any other question?
Yes, I think I have a question if I can.
Yeah, Flo.
In literature review, you would come across thousands of papers or thousands of publications. And there are instances where you pick a paper and you read, and trust me, you don't understand anything.
Yeah.
Regardless, you don't understand. It's in your field. The topics are speaking in direction to whatever that you're working on, and then all that. But then trust me, your level of understanding of that particular paper is almost equal to zero. How do you critique such papers? Do you just throw them away and not really be concerned about and just move on and then do other things, or what? How do you go about such instances?
Okay, so that's also a very good question. In my little experience of research, usually such papers are fabricated data. And also, perhaps it could also be attributed to poor writing. There could be a slim chance where what they are trying to communicate is high level that you don't understand, okay? That's also there. I'm not disputing that fact. But from what I have noticed, because they cannot convince you, they will confuse you. And that's how the paper was published. And also, perhaps, like I said, they couldn't clearly explain what is going on. So let's take a typical machine learning paper, okay? A feature of a machine learning paper is you should have very good, very, very good graphics. But when it comes to the methodology side, most of the parts there is like copy and paste. And their intention is to confuse you so that you don't understand the work and cannot replicate the work. That's the whole intention. So they will put in very complex equations that you have to derive, let's say 4 or 5 steps before you actually get to what they used. And it's just linked to what they use, the technology they use. But if you should see such a person, you let him explain, oh, what method did you use? Say, oh, I just used the bootstrap algorithm. And then, but how he explained the bootstrap algorithm in the paper is just to confuse you so that you cannot ask him so many questions. Because when you go deeper into the details, you realize that some of the data has been fabricated. But that notwithstanding, even professors read papers and they are like, what are you saying? Yes, even someone who developed the technique, sometimes it's confused by what they are trying to do. It's just, like I said, poorly written. You can use a similar paper, or you can reach out to the writer, the corresponding author, and you ask specific questions about the part that you didn't understand. If it's a very established lab, they'll reach out back to you. They can even give you the codes and try, and then you follow up, whether there's a tutorial somewhere, and then you follow up with that data. But trust me, most of the time, let me say 70%, if you have such a scenario, it means something shady is going on there. I don't know if that answers your question. Yeah. But you can always follow up and then ask them specific questions about the part that you didn't understand. There's always an email somewhere. There's always a link. You can also go to YouTube and find some tutorial from the basic, like I said, try and understand the theory and then follow up. But if you are a researcher, at least 4 or 5 years within a field, if you pick a paper, no matter how new the technology is, you should get the gist of what is going on. But like I said, people try to confuse people just intentionally so that you cannot ask a question if you are confused, right? So yeah, they just go away and then they keep channeling a lot of paper from what they want to do. Perhaps if they put everything in one paper, you would have understood it. So they will break the information into 10 papers. So unless you read the whole series, then you understand the whole thing. Yeah, but yeah, it's quite challenging when you read such papers. Yeah. Any question? So of course, to us also learning, when you write a paper, we shouldn't face such a challenge that we read everything and we don't understand what you're saying. No, we should also invest into our writing. Questions? Oh, the chat box is so empty. Anyway, I'll move on. If there's any question that comes up, you can always ask me. So we have research questions that should be clearly stated in your work. Even if you don't state the question, the answers should be clearly such that we can know what you are trying to to tell us within the literature review. If there are tables, there are hypotheses, let us know clearly what is addressing. So table 1, it is well labeled, is formatted, we know what is going on. Table 1 is not coming before a paragraph that is not supposed to come, and all these are there clearly and we know what to do. Okay, so just for us also, these are just some tips that we need to follow. Okay, so another general advice for us, there are a lot of advices, right? Before we get into what we want to do. Don't just summarize the data or just summarize what you have read. Try and analyze it, try and criticize it, expose the parts you feel you can explain or solve in the next future or the next paper that you want to publish. And give us a clear picture of the area that you are trying to go deep into. Give us a clear picture, not something that is quite muffled. And like I said, there must be landmarks within your literature. And anybody within that field will agree that, yes, this particular researcher that you mentioned is worth, the image is still blurred. Is the image blurred for everyone?
I think it's okay.
Is it clear or it's blurred?
It's okay. It's clear.
It is clear.
Okay, TNU Fitness. I think maybe try and you can log out and
She
log
can
in.
make the image bigger, maybe.
Oh, okay. All right. So why do we do a literature review? Okay, why do we do it? First of all, give us a historical background of whatever is going on. So if I'm new to your field and I read your literature review, I should be able to know everything that has been done within 50 years or 60 years that you targeted. But of course, you cannot write all the papers within 60 years. I told you, there must be landmarks, okay? So you must see the points where we were walking, the points where we were riding horses, the points where we started bicycle. These landmarks must be there so that somebody who is going to transportation can say, oh, okay, people started from walking. Now I can do something like a rocket and we can go into other places. So the historical background must be there. It must be there. And whatever you choose to represent a section or an area of that particular research area should be something that maybe has very high citations or the work is so quality. Okay. Once you've done the past and you've given us quite an idea of the past, but don't dwell so much on the past. Okay. The current trends within 5 years, like I told you, let us know what's happening also within the current trends. Okay. Try and define some key terms in the field. Because of course, when you also started, you knew nothing. So the jargons. So if you are in the machine learning field, sorry, I'm using machine learning, but if you are in sociology, you use certain terms, you must try and define them within your literature review. And this one is applicable to especially when you're writing your thesis, right? You don't need to define so many terms when you are writing a literature review paper, but in your thesis, as much as possible, try and define key terms that are, of course, related to what you are trying to do and within that field. Find gaps within the previous research. That's when you start criticizing, you find gaps, right? Even within the walking and moving to a horse, what happened? There was a gap. There should be a gap. That's why all of a sudden people started jumping on horses and feel like, okay, we can transport with them. There was a gap. Can you try and fill that gap with your research that you are doing now? Or did somebody fill that gap? How did they do it? Did they bring a next gap? Did it create another gap? And then you move like that. Find gaps within the research. If your literature review, I read it and I don't find any gap, then once I close that page, that is it. There's nothing to be done in that field. That's what you are trying to say. There should be gaps, and the gaps you are exposing must be gaps you can fill. The gaps you are exposing must be gaps you can fill. The gaps you are exposing must be gaps you can fill. I've said it 3 times. Because like I said, if you expose a gap and you cannot fill it, then the whole essence of the literature is flawed. Unless you just want to educate us and tell us, okay, maybe you can try and solve it, but for me, I couldn't do it. Expose gaps you have solved. can solve as much as possible. You have solved it or you can solve, and that's why your research is very important. This is what we call the justification of your research. Your research is justified. You are not wasting your PhD, you are not wasting your master's, you are not wasting that time. It's justified because it's a gap that you can fill. Don't fill gaps you cannot fill, or don't expose gaps you cannot fill. You may know it in mind, but perhaps maybe to be another paper you want to address, but that particular paper you're writing, the gap you're exposing, you are filling it. That's why you are telling us. If not, then why tell me? If we can't solve the problem, why do you tell us? Okay, so there's a need for the extension of the literature, which is why you are writing. Whatever you write or publish will add to that body of knowledge or that literature. Sometimes you need to give us the theoretical basis. This is when it's thesis. Give us the theoretical basis of the whole work. Why is there significance for the problem within that research? Okay, so malaria vaccines, malaria parasite has come. So is there really a need for it? That problem, is it significant to be solved? If you can draw a research map for that research, also you can tell us. So if you are able to connect the dots and you feel like, okay, in trying to solve it, use this particular protocol. Everybody who comes after you will use that protocol. And how you develop your ideas, you can give us a map. If somebody wants to adapt this in the future, they can use that particular research map to attack a similar problem. And you are justifying why the research should be conducted. So if in all these things I've said, you are not trying to answer any of these, then your literature review is not what you are trying to do. It's not a literature review. You are trying to do something else. Tell us the past. What is happening within the last 5 years? Of course, it's the past, but it's more current. Define some key terms, find a gap and expose those you can solve, and tell us why we need to extend the literature. Give us some theory that we believe once we have this theory, we can build anything on it. It's a foundation for any research or any solution to come up from. And the significance of the problem for that research, drawing a map if you can, as much as possible. Okay, so I did this, I took 2 grams of this and this. At this place, I failed like that. And then that helps you to justify why that particular research needs to be conducted. If you are writing a grant, a proposal, a grant, if this part is so clear why you are justifying the research, you will get that grant. But if the person reads through the literature and it's just a record of somebody did this and they did this, then, okay, we cannot give you the money to fund that research. So this picture just says that you search, you read, you write, you keep searching, you read, you write, keep searching, you read and write. And it goes like that. You never stop. Even after the paper is published, you still keep searching because somebody is also publishing another paper. That's if you are still within that field. Any question? If it's clear also, you let me know it's clear, then we move on. I think we are lagging behind time now. Any questions? Any questions? All right. Silence once again. Okay. So how do we approach the review, the literature review? You can use various styles, okay? So the focus is, do you want to give us a general picture of the whole field? Is that your purpose of the literature review you are writing? Or you want to actually zoom in to give us the nitty-gritties of the field? Okay, so you just want to tell us this and this and this is what is happening. So you can write your review so that you are only zooming in. You start from a very broad perspective, okay? Then you go gradually into the topic. So you draw us into why we need that particular thing. And then now you go into your research area or topic. So let's say research area, they go to research scope, research topic, specific questions or specific area of interest or application. So like that. So your literature is zoomed that way. Or we can go, you can start from a specific one and go broader. That one usually is not good So you actually start from a broader one and go zoom into the nitty-gritties of what you want to do. Or you are trying to write a literature that is to find connections between different areas. This can help you, especially when your data is limited. So you cite from chemistry, cite from biology, cite from physics. Meanwhile, your interest is in economics. So you are just citing, it's not like you are trying to waste time, but there's a concept you are trying to link, and this concept can be used in economics. So now you have, let's say, a biochem economical statistics, something like that. And that's the whole essence of your research. So you take something from, let's say, biology, let's say counting technique. You go to physics, let's say something. Okay, you go to chemistry, you also pick something from there, a concept from there, and you link all of them into economics, and now it becomes something very new. And that's how your literature is supposed to be. That's what you want to do. You want to find the connections between various topics or various fields. It could be different topics or different fields. So whilst you're writing your literature, also know how you want to go about it. Do you want to go broader to a more narrowed work, or you want to go as broad as possible, but you're connecting everybody into one box, right? Because perhaps different aspects of the research may be from different fields. So let's take something like Neuralink from Tesla, okay? So he wants to do something that can be fixed into their brain to control autonomous reactions, right? So there's some biology in there, there's some electronics in there, there's some chemistry in there, there's some programming in there. So when you're writing a literature review concerning Neuralink, you can use the fine intersection. It will be more appropriate than maybe a zooming in approach, right? You can also do patchworking. So patchwork is just that you are within the field, but what you are trying to do is you tell a story a little bit from here, a little bit from here, a little bit from here. They are not connected, but once we read everything together, we can try and see that, okay, if I piece all together, it gives me a whole reason to do this particular research. It's quite similar to the fine intersections, right? But in the fine intersection, you actually connect. But with the patchwork, you give us the view from different aspects of, let's say, from different perspectives, even if it's within the same field. Even within the same field, you are trying to take it from different angles. Let me put it that way. And then that story gives you a perfect patching work technique in your literature review. Funneling also same like zooming, but for funneling, you scope it down within a controlled area. So let's say I want to do something, let's say automation. So automation, I'll take AI, I'll take machine learning, I'll take, let's say, deep learning, I'll take something. So similar. So let's say we have just two main types, from a broader to a specific, connecting the dots from different perspectives or angles. Let's just put it that way. You have two types, but if you want to be more specific and more technical, you have 4 different ways you can approach the literature review. Yes, Isaac, go ahead. Hello, Isaac, you raise your hand.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Asking a question with respect to what you mentioned earlier about borrowing knowledge from other field.
Yes.
Now earlier also you had said that in making our literature review, it should have something to do with the topic. So if it doesn't have anything to do, and then there's no point. Like if the focus of the review does not go to add to or kind of address what you're about to add, then there may be little relevance of adding that. Now, looking at it, just my thinking, I may be wrong. If I'm in the sciences, and could I borrow something from, let's say, economics that would contribute relevantly or significantly to what I'm doing in the sciences? That seems to. Please, can you explain that a little bit
Okay.
more? Yeah, it's like I didn't get that.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good question. So we are not borrowing because we have lack of ideas, or we want to just fill the page. Whatever we are borrowing is driving us to something that we want to do very new. Okay, so I gave the example of Neuralink, which is a chip in the brain. Okay, so let's imagine the whole team that is working on Neuralink. You should have a doctor in there, like a medical doctor or a brain surgeon in that particular room. You should have somebody who is good with electronic chips. You should have somebody who is good with programming. You should have somebody who is maybe a surgeon, somebody who has studied material science. These people in the room represent the literature that you need to be able to do if you are writing for Neuralink. So you ask the question, if I'm in the sciences, can I borrow something from anywhere? Yes, you can. So let me give an example. Every biologist counts certain data. So you need techniques that the statistics people already have. And you can use that to explain your data very well. You've borrowed it from a different area, totally. So if you are doing your review, you can give us even why you chose a review that gives us an idea of why you chose that particular technique from that social science. Or there could be so many ways of showing a graph, but you chose, let's say, a bar chart. Why is that? If there could be a literature to justify that, you have to show it. Usually, now we are in a field where, or we are in the area where the more you can mix things or mix areas, the more wow it seems, because people don't think along that line. If it's machine learning, everything must be from computer science. No, but can I apply that computer science to the biology field? Or can I borrow an idea from biology into my field? It's what we call innovation. Okay, so the more broader you've read as a researcher, you never run out of ideas. And the more you can apply different fields, it even shows you how you can also go into different areas. Once you finish your PhD or master's, if you have two areas you've combined, it means you can work in any of these industries. You are not limited to only one. So yes, we borrow ideas, but of course, it should contribute to what you are doing. We are not just citing something from or a technique from another place. And usually to be a technique or an idea or let's say a process. Okay, so I'll give you a typical example. If you know about the Prisma method, maybe you can Google it. The Prisma method initially started, it's a protocol that you follow when you are doing literature review. And it was mostly biased towards the medical sciences, medical science. But with time, the social scientists felt like, no, we can also follow this method, and they adapted it. But once they adapted it, they needed to revise that technique and tweak some parts for it to, now it's everybody can use that Prisma model. Everyone uses it. If you are doing systematic review and use Prisma, everybody suggests you use Prisma. So we always borrow. Knowledge is a body. We say it's a body. And just like we have the body, the head, the nose, they don't operate in isolation. We feel that we are in different fields, but we are all one. Sometimes you may be out of ideas, but when you talk to your friend from another area, you'll be like, okay, if I do this, I can help you. And then you can even collaborate, and that's how collaborations can start. So borrow the idea, but make sure that it's helping what you are doing, not that you just want to fill up the space, right? Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so I'll not spend much time on this one because this one is very easy. You state the question, you find the keyword, you choose a database. This one, I think we did it in our first session, so we'll not spend much time on this. Okay. So this is when you are reading or even when you are doing your literature, what paper should I choose? Or does this paper qualify for? Some people feel like, okay, sometimes maybe you are hungry, so you wanted to finish that paper and go for lunch. So your focus was not so much there. So you just say, okay, this paper has nothing to do. But perhaps if you were full, you would have had the patience to read that particular paper. So we can see that literature review for even two people doing the same topic, they'll end up giving us two different literature review. Why? Because it's a human being and it's subjective, right? Okay, so these are some questions you can ask yourself to help you decide. Okay, so is the paper concerned with my research area? Yes, no, you can decide to throw it away. Okay, but you should ask yourself, why is that keyword that you put into the database showing in another area that is not related to you? It goes back to the question you just asked, because they borrowed that idea. So can I also borrow? It goes that way. So know how to discard based on just a topic. Okay. Is it comprehensive enough? Does it show, contribute to the thorough treatment of the topic at the center of my review? So can it contribute? Every paper you are adding should be relevant to your review. It's not because you want to show that you've read 100 papers at the end of the day in your citations. No. Is it contributing something to the review? Okay. The breadth, how is it the background, is it so extensive that it's covering a lot of things? Is it relevant? Is it current? Should I exclude it? Do I have that authority to be able to add that? Or is it something written by somebody who has so much authority in that field? Okay, so these days, what a lot of reviewers do is, if they go through the citation list or the reference list and they don't find themselves or their mentors or people they admire, they'll reject the paper. So you should know the key people in the field also. The guys who are driving it, of course, it makes sense. These are the bosses. So you must have one or two of their papers in there. So it's not fair. There could be smaller or less known people who are also doing good work, but that's the system in which we are. So you should have people who are current and have the authority. Once they have the authority, it means they know so much about the field. Perhaps in the next future, when you also become an authority, you'll be happy if someone cites you, right? So also do the same, pay for it. Yeah. Is the resource available? Sometimes you look for it, you feel that this thing, if I get it, this book, if I get it, it will help me, or this paper, if I get it, to help me, but you don't understand, or you don't get access to it, or there's a paper that's written in another language. My research, current research that I'm doing, most of it came from Russia. So now I have to take Russian courses. No. But there are things like translators you can, and whatever you want to improve upon, the Russians have already done it. So you can pick it from there and then know how to do it. So availability is also very important. Sometimes you have to chase the paper. If it's written in Chinese, chase it. Don't let it stop you. There's a reason why it has been published as a Chinese paper. It's not because it's less quality. It's because if you understand what I'm saying, you understand. Anyway, so literature review, there's no easy way. So if you are here on this call and you feel that I'm coming to give you an easy way, I will give you, but I don't advise that. There's no quick and easy way to do this. If you try to do this, you may go scot-free if it's a bachelor or a master degree program. But if it's a paper you are publishing or a PhD program, you'll be disappointed. Even if it's published, you'll be disappointed at yourself a few years to come. Why did I do this review? So please, let's do things that is timely. That's why I was asking, how long do you feel that I can do this thing? If you feel you don't like reading, then don't waste time. Do a good work. Once you are at it, it should come out very productive. If it's 10 hours you use, make sure that it's good 10 hours. If it's just two papers, don't do 10 hours, 50 papers, and there's nothing in there. You've wasted 10 hours. You have to go back again. You are stressing your own self. So read, understand, criticize. Read, understand, criticize. Don't read a paper because you want to sleep. Don't read a paper because there's pressure. No. If there's pressure, sleep. Okay? Don't do quick fixes. That's one advice I'll give you. This particular point is controversial, but I'll still say it. Read very good papers for knowledge, but read bad papers for inspiration. I'll repeat it again. Read papers from, everyone says good journal, SCI, SCCI, and the names keep coming up. SCIE, XCIE extended, all those, yes. Read those ones for knowledge. But once in a while, go to the predatory journals I'm not saying all predatory journals have bad information, but go to the, in quote, bad papers for inspiration, because the work they will do there is always limited and you can solve it in your lab. I'm not against any race, but if the work is published from a certain aspect of this world, it's always the technical issue, there's no lab, there's no resources, and maybe you are in the advanced part of the world, you can quickly solve that paper and to be like you extended that work. So they will do the literature for you, they'll do all the theoretical background and they are good at that. But then maybe they get to the lab and they cannot implement it. You are in a lab here who can easily fix that issue. So you go there for inspiration. Don't go and copy the bad work. Go there just for inspiration. So know how you also read, okay? Good paper for knowledge, quote, bad papers for inspiration. And this technique is popular. SEAL method, search, evaluate, identify the outline, write your literature review. I'll not spend time on this. You can, I think I've talked about this already, but it's online, you can read it. Any questions? Something I said that you don't agree with, you can tell me. Any questions so far? Is the silence because you don't understand me, or?
You can go ahead.
All right, thank you very much for that feedback. Okay, so what issues in this document may contribute to my review? So perhaps you have done 3 months or 4 months of reading. Now you are going through the literature to select which one of them is good for you. So you can categorize them. Okay, this paper helps in my introduction. It supports my introduction. This one supports my methodology. This one is a theory paper, so it will go to my method part. So you should now be able to identify the papers. Let's say 50 papers. You should now sort them out into where you put what. The definitions, are there definitions of concept that are at the center of my review? Yes. So what is in the paper, you now sort it out, and that runs to points 1 to 8. I have to speed up now because time is going. So you, depending on the level in which you are now, the type of research that you do or literature review that you do will follow a certain line of extent, or let's say scope. It gets higher once you climb up the ladder, right? Good. So you can also develop a working timeline. Okay, so I'll use 2 months to read. I'll use this to, it's also very good. All right, I'll give you the documents later, so no problem. Approach of review, I'll not waste time on this. You can read this. Okay, time is fast spent. I didn't take notice of the time. Okay, so basically there are 5 types of literature review. So if you have inboxed me before and asked me, Fred, how can you help me to write a literature review? If I'm in a good mood that day, I'll ask you, which type of review? If I'm not in a good mood, I will not answer you because I clearly know you don't know what you're asking for. What type of review do you want to learn about? Okay, so there are different types of review. However, you can integrate various ones, okay? Maybe 2 or 3 of them together. So we'll just look at them quickly. Okay, so all your literature review should start with this particular type of review. No matter the type of review you are writing, start with this particular type of review, which we call the annotated literature review. So you create a long table, whether in Excel or wherever you are, and you should have all these and even more concerning each paper that you have read or downloaded. You should be able to do this for at least maybe 100 or 200 papers, depending on the saturation level you want to do, especially if you are new in the field. Just keep doing this for each paper. There is an AI tool that can help you do this. I'll show you in a bit. But if you can do this by yourself and you have a record of all the papers that you have read, you can even publish that table or that extensive table in the literature review. So anybody who reads it, it's also a form of literature review, which is called the annotated, because it's kind of annotated, gives you extra, just descriptions in short sentences, right? And it's in a table form. Okay, so you ask yourself, what are the findings in the paper? What are the, once you know all this, you can get the keywords, get the research questions from all these, particular types of review. So anybody here, whether for a paper, for a thesis you are writing, have you done your annotated literature review? If no, then I have no business with you. Go and do it, and do a very good annotated table, such that when you show it to me, you don't need to say anything. I'll understand the whole field. It's like the blueprint, right? All right. Since there's no feedback, I'll move on. Once you've done the annotated review, which I believe you can all do, it just takes time. But like I said, the AI is also there, it can help you. Then you start your initial research design, right? So you develop the keywords that you have read. So maybe you know all the keywords within your field for over 50 topics or 50 papers that you have read. You have gotten a lot of them. The topics, you also know it. You can also map the citations or the papers using Web of Science, US Viewer, Connected Papers. These are all new tools that help us, right? We've discussed some of them, but I'll try and show them in demonstration in the last part of the class. So this is, you are doing a review based on themes, okay? So the topic, the theme, yeah. Then you come to a timeline review. So 16th century, 17th century, 18th century, 19th century, 20th century, 21st century. You also give a review that way. Or you can do a review in that line of perspective where you are looking at historical versus new trends, key people, long-standing problems in the field. So you can maybe over 4 centuries, still this same issue has not been solved. You see it in the literature, and you can give us a timeline review. You can put it in a table form or whatever. You can put it in writing, or you can just create a nice chart or figure too. You can also look at it from a local or global perspective. So are you combating AIDS from a regional perspective, or you're combating AIDS from a general perspective, that's a global perspective? So under the initial research design, you can do a thematic review or you can do a timeline review. These are all types of literature review. So depending on what fits you, do it. And don't ask me that, can you help me write a literature review? Tell me, I want you to help me to write a thematic review, then okay, I know what to say to you. But if you come to anybody, not only me, anyone, and ask for help, let the help be very specific so they can give you the right thing for you. Right? Maybe I'll go through the whole discussion with you 2 hours later before you realize you need to do a systematic review. And then now we have to start how to write a systematic review. All right. You can also do a gap and limitations review, right? It falls under the initial research design. So you look at all the research gaps, the research edges, research questions, possible hypotheses, the consensus of what people are thinking. And if you have done a very good annotated review, all this will come up to you very easily. And there are 7 types of research gaps. You can pick it from any other point, right? Depending on your research area. You can also do a theoretical review where you are now going to the equations, the models, and everything. You are trying to establish what theories exist and the relationship between them, and to what degree these existing theories have been investigated, and how you can also develop them, adding new hypotheses. Okay, so under this type of review, you can write a review paper that does a thematic review, a timeline review, a gap and limitation review, a theoretical review, and it's still one type of review. I don't know if I've confused anyone, but I'll move on. If there's confusion, you can stop me. You can also do a scoping review, right? Where you identify a scope, just one part of your research area. Okay, or you want to cover the whole part. So it's up to you. We have to see that difference. And when we are reading the literature review, we should see it. Okay, are you developing general objectives or you are developing specific objectives? You must see all these. Identify the unexplored areas of your research. And if you can tell us why it was not explored, right? If it's important to be explored, you can tell us. If it has been left there because no one can answer it, then you also tell us. The purpose of this review is to explore more general questions, right? Okay, so I'll come to stage 4, which is the narrative review, or the type 4, which is what a lot of us achieve to write. But sadly enough, Should I break the bubble? Yes. Narrative review is what a lot of us do in our thesis. But once you want to transfer it into a publication, you always get desktop rejections, simply being that the journals don't believe you have been so exposed to the field enough that you can publish such a review. So if you know you don't have over 10 years or 20 years experience, don't touch this type of review. Of course, you can do that in your thesis, but don't try. Don't try for publication. That is, you want to publish it in a journal. Because, like I said earlier, two people doing the same literature will give us different, or they will choose different papers to represent the literature. But if you are someone who has been in the field, you know who to reference. You just don't reference anyone. So this type of review is usually invited by the journals for very almost retired professors, and then they give it to them to write such a review because they don't want to misrepresent the field. And when such people talk, we believe that they are justified to give such a review, right? So don't waste your time. That's my advice. Don't waste your time trying to publish a narrative review because, okay, there are some cases it's possible. I have a narrative review, but there are some special cases, okay? So you can wait. You're a PhD, second year, don't try. Third year, don't try. Maybe your fourth year, you can give it a try, okay? Because the literature is always advancing and it's by strict invitations. There are some few journals that pick it up, right? But if you want a good journal to publish a narrative review, it's a big challenge. So don't focus on this. But that's what we always do in our thesis part, chapter 2. So it's okay for a thesis, but not for publications. And I've given the reason why. Because your perspective may be narrowed or may be biased, okay? It's not from a gut feeling or just anything. You need to have experience to be able to do a narrative review. So if you also want to learn how to write a review, you should go into the narrative reviews to see. Unfortunately, they don't have a standard outline because everyone writes it how they feel they can write it. And there's no fixed outline for a narrative review. So you may learn something or may not learn anything from it. But it's something, if you are new in the field, you just go there to learn, okay, these are the big names, these are the new trends and all that. So narrative review, just for your thesis, is okay. You can also have the argumentative review, where you choose a stand. You support a certain area, you don't support a certain area. Borderline, maybe, no. Borderline is usually for the narrative review. You don't take a stand, you just show the true picture. But if you go for a part, you give us your arguments and why we must listen to you. You can also expose the other side, their flaws, and then you put in more holes why we should not believe that particular aspect of literature. And then the systematic review, which is open to everybody, because there's a standard, there's a protocol. So there's a Prisma model. There are other models but a very popular one is the Prisma model. So the Prisma model gives you a checklist. So it will ask you the title. Have you fulfilled the conditions of the title, the abstract, everything? There's a format. So a lot of people can do, if you're a PhD student, your second year, you can publish a systematic review easily. If you follow the checklist, you can easily publish it. And a lot of people decide to publish a lot of these. However, it does not contribute so much to your academic career because everyone can do it, right? So it's better if you do an empirical research and publish it if you want to go up the ladder faster. But if you just want the number of counts in terms of publication, systematic review is so easy to do. So easy, and everyone here can do a systematic review. Just follow the steps. Download the checklist for the Prisma, and you are good to go. Just have to find a question and answer it, okay? So, okay, so for a systematic, there are two types. There's a meta-analysis and there's a meta-synthesis. So meta-analysis, you are trying to review so many topics, but you're using more of statistical or mathematical approaches. So you see in such types of systematic review, there are a lot of equations and graphs. So if you are more into statistics and you can have so many data that you can compare using statistics, this is the type of systematic review you should look at. But for meta-synthesis, it's just a qualitative analysis and you're not using statistical tools. So based on your own interpretation and all that. So these are also extra things. Then we have the integrative review, which I believe you can integrate all the, from annotated, scoping review, you can put them all in one, except narrative review, and that gives you an integrative review, right? However, you can also look at different literature review and change the text into data or data into images. Okay, so you can read a paper that you realize so much information is there, but there's no pictures, like no storybooks. When we were younger, the storybooks always had pictures, right? So if you have the skills to change data from text into images, maybe two paragraphs of data or text can be into a very beautiful figure, and you have the capability to do it. Or you can change a table into a figure, or you change a figure into your own way. So you describe the figure and it becomes your review, right? So you can write such a review also, where you are just looking for figures, or you are looking for tables, you are looking for data, try to process them by yourself. And of course, you are criticizing, reviewing the data, and suppose your research does not involve primary data and data analysis, then integrating integrative literature review will be your option, because you don't have data, right? So you are using other people's data, but in another way. So it was a table, now you've changed to a figure. Maybe another time it will be a text. So that's how it is. You are not stealing, you are improvising, and you are advancing the data, right? Okay, so I'll pause here. At this level, I expect questions. Questions, comments? You are moving too slow, you are moving too fast. They are all comments. I need them. Questions? Or let me ask, which type of review do you want to write? Maybe you can put it in the chat box. I don't know, it's also an answer. I want to write an integrative review because I don't have so much data. I want to write a scoping review because I want to narrow down to one particular type of research area. I want to write, the annotated is for everybody. It's compulsory. Once you've attended this tutorial, you should be able to have an annotated review table. You can put it in any type of review. It even makes it nice. If somebody does not want to read the text, once the annotated is there, it's beautiful. If you are an advanced researcher, you can write a narrative. Systematic, the easiest and the most practical for early researchers. You want to do yeah, so which type of review are we writing? Are we trying to write, or will write? Doing a systematic review at the moment, already have an annotated review. Nice, nice. Anyone? There are 11 people at the moment. So I should see 11 answers or 10. Systematic at the moment, great. Isaac, you raise up your hand. Sorry, guys, I didn't go deeper. Sorry, Isaac, a minute. I didn't go deeper. I just want to introduce it to you guys because I know once you know what to go and type in Google, you guys are good researchers to do that. And because of time, right? So as a follow-up, if you want us to just treat only systematic review, that will be the discussion for 2 or 3 hours. Okay, we can do that. But for now, perhaps some people are here, don't know the differences. And like I said, systematic is always the easiest way to start. All right, but the other ones, plus annotated, now it's compulsory for every attendee in this course. All right, Isaac, go ahead.
Okay. So I'm looking at the case where, let's say, you've done a systematic review and you're putting in the annotated. Won't it look like duplication of efforts? Would it be okay?
For annotated, it's for you. It's for you as the researcher, okay? It's not compulsory to put it in there. It's just like a summary. Of course, you'll not put all the 42, 42 items there, but you can say that it's just one figure you can create or one table. But what I'm saying is you should have the annotated. Once you have it, it will even give you an idea of which review I should go on next. So it's like just a gateway in there. You can polish it and make it, okay, the top 10 important research. Or if you are doing a thematic review, okay, so you can take 10 researchers that are supporting a certain topic, and that's annotated. Then you go to topic 2. Topic 2 also has its own annotated. So it's just like a summary. After every long paragraph, before you conclude, you put that annotated there. So if someone does not want to read it, just have an idea of the theme. If it's a timeline, annotated can also work. If it's a scope, annotated can work. It's for you, personal work. But if you want to publish it or put it in there, even a systematic, it works. It works perfectly. Depending on how you want to address it. But if you can't put it inside the paper, no problem. It helps you to develop the work, right? So based on the data you have from your annotated, it should show you which line of thought or where to move next. All right. More questions, more comments. Hey, it looks like today I'm forcing people to talk. Okay, so here just gives you a little comparison between the types of review, some of them. So I'll not go into this. Like I said, the documents will be given to us. Yeah, so I've mentioned a few softwares so far. I mentioned VOS Viewer is very important if you want to do systematic review. It's very important. If you have it, it gives a very good breakdown of the work you have. It's just a viewer, so it helps you to view. If you don't want to use that, you can use Research Rabbit. If you don't want to use that, you can use Connected Papers for views. Those of us who cannot do figures, these softwares will help you, or just to give you an idea, a picture idea of what the whole research is about. I'll show it very soon, right? We are pressed with time, but I'll try and show it. You can also use lit maps. These ones, they are free versions, so you can use them. If you have extra money, you can pay for it, okay? I wanted to talk about reference managers, but there's no time for it. Maybe another session we'll talk about that. But you can use Mendeley. I spoke about reading within the reference manager. You can choose Mendeley, Zotero, or EndNote. EndNote is paid for. So if you don't have institutional access or you don't have it, you can use Mendeley or Zotero. The references tab, there are so many of them. So all put together, we have all this. I have to skip this, sorry. These are other advices you can also go through. Then let's move to the practical part. So these are also practical approaches in writing, okay? So we criticize and we don't describe. Don't describe the literature to me. I can also go and read it myself. So once you read, and so what? Okay, once you say something, and so what? Ask yourself, and so what? Don't put so many words there, but there should be arguments. Okay, when I say argument, I mean your viewpoint. You should have a clear viewpoint with a purpose, right? Move from general to specific. Sometimes you can show the location or where the study was done instead of showing us the focus of the results. Okay, so in 2016 in Nigeria, Bamilode et al. If sometimes it's not necessary to state that. We want the results. What did Bamilode do? Okay, so show us that when you are writing. Sometimes you are describing the researcher and not what they found. Okay, like I just said, what did they find? Yes, sometimes you need to tell them as who did it, but the focus should be on what did they find, okay? You are describing the main topic instead of the relevant message. These are errors we make, okay? We also lack a well-defined general purpose. instead of the specific purpose. You are telling us the different thing. Okay. Every information you give us, at least 5 papers to back that. It's okay. Every relevant information that you state in your work, at least 5 papers to support that point, that argument. If you can do this, then you're a good researcher. At least 5 papers. It's not a rule anywhere. I'm just giving you an advice. Okay. All right. So also vary the referencing, how you do it. Okay. Sometimes you can start with Lee and co-workers instead of just saying Lee et al. Okay. You can also say several studies have done. And then you say, okay, several studies have studied how during autumn, a lot of insects migrate from one area, the northern belt, to the southern belt. Other studies have also disproved the conspiracy that this. Even other people, okay, so if you use this approach, then it means that your referencing will be at the end of the statement. Instead of always being Lee et al., Ju et al., this et al., all your beginning statement starts with et al. You can vary it also. It makes the work easy to read, okay? So you can vary the type of referencing. Not the general referencing, but you can use co-workers instead of et al. You can use several studies, other studies. However, all those transition things, I cannot teach all of them here, okay? So you can also use this approach, the topic and the author, or the study and the author, the results and the author, okay? So the topic and the author, so you can say that in investigating prime suspects of crime within, let's say, local Accra, Ju et al. Did this. Okay, that's a topic or the study. You can also say that results. How can I even explain results? Action, researcher's position. So Lee et al. Defends that the time in 2016, this author did this. You can say that, okay, in a classic study by, classic means quite historic, or the beginning of the field, right? 10 years later, more recently, much more recently, these are ways you can to vary the pattern of the sentence. Use linking ideas to show us the road signs, like I said. Because there are gaps, you should use linking ideas, right? So that we know that, okay, in this century to this century, this is what you want to do. Publish a literature review paper to highlight the gaps you want to solve. I think I've said this already. Use a Prisma model if you want to do an established literature search. So there's also this system. You state the point. What point do you want to state? Give us an evidence. Give us an example. Explain the point. Tell us the gap. And then you repeat. This will be your structure through all the paragraphs. I'll go over again. So the point I want to make. In recent times, the Ghana CD to dollar depreciation is high. That's the point. Whether it's true or not, you have no say. I'm writing the paper, okay? So I've stated that point. I need to give evidence. So you say, according to a study done by Nkrumah et al., the depreciation over 10 years is supposed to be 0.01 CD to the dollar. However, the general trend shows that it is now 10 CD to $1 every second. Okay, that's just my evidence. Of course, evidence should be literature, right? They give an example. We can see a quick trend in the rise of the CD to dollar depreciation within the COVID time. Do you have an explanation to that? You can say, okay, because of, like they always say, the Russia-Ukraine war. This has brought a gap that our CD is not stable during such crisis. That's the gap. So you want to create a system that can stabilize this. This is one paragraph. Repeat the process. There's a point, you give an evidence, you give an example and an explanation, and then the gap. And I said, if you can't solve that gap, please don't be a politician. Don't expose gaps you cannot solve. Okay. From the literature gap also, you can look at it from 3 ways. The unexplored areas. There are areas that are very gray. Everyone knows it's a problem, but no one wants to touch it. You can go there. Or you can do interdisciplinary, okay, between different fields. That's where the gap. So maybe between the banking and the technology sector, there's a gap. It's 2 different areas. So you can look at how to bridge that gap. Or within a specific field, different scopes or topics have a gap also. So you can look at it from this perspective of the gaps. All right. So this is where we all do the practicals, practical time. Okay. So let's say I have, somebody should give me a topic and then we'll do this because I don't want to use a topic. Somebody from the comments, you can say a topic and then we'll use this to explain this part where we are trying to structure our paragraphs, right, of the literature, no matter which type of literature it is. Someone should give me a topic. Topic. Any topic is okay. As much as possible, I should be able to relate to it. If not, I'll look for another topic. Let me stop sharing for a moment. Any topic. Railway diplomacy, China's infrastructure, investment, and please, I'm not laughing at the topic. It's just that it's quite far away from me. But let's try, okay? So here we are going to practical. So please, I'll use the AI techniques that I already said, okay? So let me launch. Because I don't know anything about this topic, okay? So let's see what I will do. I'm not a railway engineer or anything related to that. So I'll try. This is a challenge. Okay. So I need I have a topic, but I need to break it down, right, for my review. So this is what I want to do. Oh, my network. But of course, if you have your own research questions and all that, okay, Isaac has also given, I'll use that in the next section. So sorry, my network is still loading. Hopefully it should finish soon. So what I want to do is to develop subtopics under this particular topic that has been given me, okay? Because I want to segment my work into, okay, so now I can share my screen. Okay, so our friendly ChatGPT, okay, so kindly, I see ChatGPT as a human being, so sorry. Kindly give me 5 subtopics. Under this main topic. So I don't have a structure. I don't have anything. So I just have the topic given to me by my teacher or my supervisor, my network. Are you looking for subtopics related to the impact, strategies, or specific projects within this team? Everything. Okay. Let's hope that what it has given me is right. Let's just hope. Okay. So I'll go back to a Word document. Let me open a Word document. Okay, so this is my first topic, second topic, third topic, fourth topic, fifth topic. Under the main topic, let me copy it, paste it. Oh. Okay, so this is my main topic. if it's a thesis, is 2.0 or 2, okay? So now I have China's strategic goals in Africa, examining the political. So I want to create questions. So I'll go to consensus app, right? So consensus app. So consensus app deals with questions, okay? So I started from a topic, and then I broke it down to subtopics. So I'm taking the first subtopic and try and frame a question around it and see what consensus can help us with. So this is the first one, consensus, after ChatGPT, to make our work a bit easy. Okay, still loading. Once it's loading, I have to do this one also. The second one is size space, which is typeset.io. Okay, we'll use this one very soon. Also down. Why is my network here? Has anyone opened the consensus? Okay, so whilst we wait for consensus, let's try and use typeset.io. So there's a paid version, there's a free version. So I'm using the free version now. So you can put the question here. No, this is the main. You can use the main question if you want, but I don't want to do that. I want to use the sub question or a subtopic. It can be a question or a topic. Oh, consensus is back. Okay, so I'm asking for the research, examining the political, economic motives behind China's infrastructure. Then I search. I'll copy the same thing and go to size space, right? Okay, so based on this subtopic, or if it was a sub question, the app has given us 10, it has reviewed 10 papers and given us a quick summary. Okay, these are the references. Okay, so you can quickly go and check. And then it tells you which of these references is highly cited, and it gives you also a 1 or 2 sentences to tell you whether you should choose that particular reference or not. It's up to your judgment. Okay, so you can save it if you want. Of course, it's highly cited. This one is not highly cited, so it's just 47. But once you read it, if it's okay for you, you can save it. All right. So let's say that we take political motives, right? Or let me just say this one. You can copy and paste everything that came there, but it's up to you. Of course, you have to paraphrase it. But I just want to develop this particular part. So China's infrastructure investment, particularly through the initiatives like Belt and Road and the Asian Investment Bank, are driven by the complex interplay of political and economic motives. This is just a statement. We need evidence for it, right? According to our technique. Point, evidence. This review examines the motive by synthesizing findings from multiple research, right? So it gives you the breakdown from that particular point, which was geopolitical influencing and positioning. So I can copy this one. Instead of this, I just remove this. And then take the first point. Geopolitical influence and strategic positioning, what is under that? I'll try and rephrase it. So these are like kind of evidences to support the geopolitical influence and strategic position. So I have to put that particular title into a sentence. So I don't know how to do that. But once you can do that, then you give the evidences, give the explanation, and then you move on from there, right? So if you go back to our, it says that the topic, the subtopic or the question, if you have some keywords, okay, I'll talk about keywords right now, but if you have keywords, you use that keywords to also find other information from Scopus. So if you have questions, you can go to SciSpace or consensus. If you have keywords, you come to Scopus. So depending on your research and how far you have gone, right? So let's go back to the SciSpace. I almost forgot SciSpace. So SciSpace also gave us what? 5 papers. Okay, answer from top 5 papers. And it's not hallucinations, it's actual papers. Okay, so you can read it. It gives you also literature you can read. But the advantage of SciSpace is, remember the annotated I gave you, you can put it here by saying add columns. So you can add the conclusion, summarize, abstract, results from those papers, and you get the whole table, and you can export it if you are on the paid version. But if not, you do copy and paste from here. Okay, so this helps you to build the annotated, the first step, right? Annotated. So subtopic 1, you build, then you build either by keywords or a question. So if it's keywords, you use Scopus, which I'll show right now. But if it's topic or question, you can use consensus and SciSpace to further develop the question. And there are, like I said, every critical point, 5 papers. So SciSpace even gives you more, and you can keep going on and on and on. Okay, the free version is quite limited, but it's enough. But if you have the paid version also, there's more you can do. You can export and everything is very easy. There's a question. Can it be listed for us to make it easier for us to refer to, please? What do you want me to list? Can you clarify?
I believe maybe the sites or the sites for the literature review, I think.
Oh, okay, sure. I would post them in the chat. Do you want it now or I should do it later? Okay, let me put the first one here. There's typeset.io. There's Scopus. So typeset is for questions. Keywords can also work. Keywords. It can also have the topics, right? And then we have consensus. Is it APP? Yes, consensus.app. The advantage of consensus also is like it tells you if there are diverse aspects of the field, right? So those who are supporting one side, it will tell you all that. The highly cited papers, it will also tell you. So consensus.app, mostly questions, but can also handle topics too, right? And then we have ChatGPT, and then we have Scopus. Scopus mainly for keywords, okay? You can also use Web of Science for keywords. We've done this in the previous one, so I will not talk about it using Web of Science, but for Scopus, I'll talk about it now. Scopus.com. Okay, so let's go back to ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT if it can give me some keywords, because I don't know the keywords in this field. But of course, if you are in this field, you know. Clearly suggest some keywords for a literature search on this topic. So railway diplomacy. Okay. So I'm going to use all. I'm going to use all. Okay. So for Scopus, if you are very new to Scopus, no problem. Just come to advanced document search, okay? In the advanced document search, there are some codes you need to know here on the right-hand side, but let's use just the first. We need a title of the document, right? The abstract, the keyword, I think is enough. So let me type title, abstract, and keyword, this one. So now I'll put in my various keywords, right? So the first one, I'll put it in inverted comma because I want specifically those words, okay? So I can say railway diplomacy, it should give me papers that have railway diplomacy in them, okay? Or it should give me, these are according to ChatGPT. So these are the important keywords for the topic I gave it. But if not, it's just a demonstration, okay? You can also use end if you want, okay? So what I'll do is, if it has railway diplomacy, depending on the focus of what I want to do, give me a paper that has in the title or the abstract or even the keywords, give it to me. Or it has China, Africa, infrastructure investment. Or so usually the first one you show should be the focus, like the key topic, right? The other ones are just bonuses. Or the list just goes on. I'll be glad if some of you are following alongside us. Okay, let's stop at 5. Let me not go. You can keep going on, okay? So let me now review my, and you can do this also when you are doing systematic review, right? So the Prisma model will ask you your search keys. Okay, so let me just stop here for the 5. It's okay. I can keep going on, but let's review our search keywords. So I have railway diplomacy or China Africa infrastructure investment or Africa connectivity. So I just want to refine my search. So what I can say is, if there's any word that has Africa, star, okay? Star means it can be African, it can be something, something. As far as Africa is starting it, give it to me, connected to this, right? Because it's so to be railway diplomacy with Africa. So any paper that has railway diplomacy and Africa-related something will pop up also. Whether it's African connectivity, it will still pop up. Once there's Africa is somewhere in the world to come, right? So the star means that any extra thing. So African, Africa, once there's AFRACA, it will pop up, right? So you used to refine the word because, okay, let's just see. Let's see what will show up. Oh, there's a syntax error and I know why. My double brackets, I left one. So one will close with this. Okay, I didn't close the first bracket. Okay, so second one is closed twice, right? Yeah, I think this should work. Still syntax error. Okay, let me check.
I think the Africa needs another
yes,
close.
yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Oh, I'm not saving, sorry. Okay, so 920,000 documents. No, I cannot read this. it will take the whole PhD time, right? So we have to refine the search. It's okay if you want to read, maybe you are a postdoc and that will be your career forever, but no, it's too much, okay? So we can, I think it's still too much, but let's see if we can refine it. We only want papers from social science, no medicine. We don't want medicine, assuming, okay? And we want papers from environmental science, maybe art and humanity. I want only articles. I don't want review papers, or maybe I want review papers. I don't want chapters, right? I don't want conference paper because I can say conference paper sometimes it has not been peer reviewed, so that's the excuse. But just to narrow down my search, that's what I'm just trying to do. I want only English papers, okay? And then you click limit to, or you could exclude those criteria. Let's see if it will reduce it. Still 200. Okay, so what I'll do is the year. Yes, the year also very important. Okay, so let's see if it will reduce it further. Africa, maybe I want to reduce it. It has also given me some keywords. So in my next search, I could use Africa, South Africa, human article, and it shows me a lot of keywords also. So it's trying to help me. Ghana, aged, poverty, and so in case I didn't have some other keywords, I can use that, right? So let me see the years. Where are my years? Okay, so let's just take the last, maybe from 2020 to 2025. Five because, of course, if the paper is published, sometimes it's ahead of us, right? So it's okay. So, yes. Limit to English. Okay, if it's 25, just 3. So let me just take these 2, for example. Okay, just this 2, for example. So 9,000 papers. It's still too much. It's still too much for Scopus, not for you. Scopus does not allow you to export the information above 2,000. Okay, so that's a limitation. Okay, so what can we do? Okay, let me limit it only to social sciences. Apply change. 6,000. Seems there's a lot of work going on in this area. What can I do? Okay, in case you don't believe me, let me try and export it so you see the error. So CSV, I want the abstract, the keywords. What again is important? I think the rest is okay. Oh, sorry, it's 20,000. Oh, then we are good to go, not 2,000, my bad. So we can export it, right? So 20,000, yeah, we can export it. So once it's exported, let's open the exported Scopus file. So this is a mini type of annotated review, but it's not done yet. What just happened? It's showing only 12. Oh, I should have clicked, oh, sorry. And then now I'll export. Where's the export? Okay, so I'll export in CSV file. And abstract is important, keywords. Truncate to optimize for Excel. Okay. Save as preference. So every time you come, it will use this particular thing to export. So let me export again. So it will take a while. So let's just use the 11 it gave us. Okay, so my advice to you is you come here, the abstracts, okay? And for those of you who are in social sciences, you always do coding, even more than the computer science. Okay, so you can put in here screening. You create a new column and create screening, okay? Just write screening. So you want to screen to the papers. Now you want to screen them based on the abstract, okay? So if I write, I want to screen. So quick, by reading the abstract, if I feel that the abstract is good enough for me, I'll put 0. Sorry, if it's not good enough, I'll put 0. If it's good enough, I'll put 1. Or I'm sure that I'll need this particular paper 1. Why is this thing so long? Okay, let me put it at the end just for. So screening, initial screening, or you can call it whatever you want to call. So perhaps I read the first paper just by the abstract. I feel it's a good paper. So I'll put 1. Maybe the second one is 0, because I'm sure it's totally off the topic I want to do. But I read the third one and it's in between. So I'll say maybe, so 2, okay? So you can just do this randomly, but just by reading the abstract, okay? You are able to go through the initial screening process. Then now, all the 1s and 2, you actually download the paper. The 0s, don't download them. So you say downloading paper. Because you believe that just by reading the abstract, this paper will help me, maybe to help my introduction, to help my literature or some parts of my work. So based on your judgment, you believe that 1 and 2 is, so maybe when you download the paper, those that were the maybes, you can decide on them. Oh, actually, I need them. Okay. So then you download the paper, but you've done an initial screening just by the abstract, right? So once you download the paper, how to download the paper, once you have institutional access, Sci-Hub, all these things in the first class, we've done that, so I'll not do that. But once you download the paper, now you can go back to how I taught you to read the paper. At which stage are you in? You use that to decide. And then now you categorize the papers, hard, medium, that kind of thing. Or this is introduction, this is for literature, this is for methodology. Based on whatever you do, you can read them also your reference manager, and then you are good to go. So all in all, you can develop the topic using the point, example, explanation, what's the last one? The gaps to develop the point. So I'll not go through, but I think you get the whole gist. Back here, it gives you everything, so you can go back and then do everything that I've said also. So your topic sentence, it's like an introduction. That sentence always is your own thing. Nobody can catch you. But once you say it, make sure there's evidence. You give your main points, right? Then you conclude like that. So that's a snowballing. Of course, when you also download a paper, that paper also has references, right? So when you go to consensus, for example, consensus does it very beautifully. So here, for example, if I should download this paper, it also has 300 and, okay, no, it also has other references, right? So it should be able to show here. Where is it? Let's go pilot. But there should be a button. If I think it's for the paid. Yeah, but there's a button where you are able to look at the references in that particular paper, and then you can also decide if you download those extra papers within that particular one paper, right? And then it gives you the snowball. You keep getting a lot of papers. Okay. Are there any questions? So size, space, topic or questions, consensus, topic, questions, but mostly for topics. Which other one? I forgot this one, lit maps. Okay. Sorry for the time, but let me do lit maps. Scopus also for the keywords. And then we have lit maps, right? Litmaps.com. So let me paste it in the chat. Oh, this one. So litmaps.com. What is litmap? Litmap is usually to help you see graphically the gaps. Okay? It's specifically for the gaps, the research gaps. Okay. So size space mostly for annotated annotated, right? I hope we get that one. And also gives us small papers. And also writes a summary for us, quick summary, right? Okay, so if you sign in and all that, you can log in, okay? Just register and then you can use this, okay? So what do we want to search? Let's use the second topic that someone gave us in the chat, right? So that it's fair. So lit maps. Issues of AI to advancement. Okay. Okay, yeah. Thank you. My internet is also playing games with me. Okay, let me try it on a different browser. Cool. Can someone try it also on their end and maybe I'll let them share their screen? Seems my internet is on break. What went wrong? Okay, so I just wanted to show how to go about it and all that. Seems like it's not working for me. This specifically is for research gaps, okay? Use it for your research gap. If you can't see your research gap, you feel like all the problems have been solved in your area. No, that's not possible. What's happening? Okay. Or is it because I'm on video? Maybe it's not my to save some. Okay, let me try logging in. Or would anyone want to share their screen so that I can guide them from there? Since I don't know why it's. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's what you are supposed to get. I just wanted to explain something. I don't know why. It's not sure. So I'll show you how to manipulate the maps also to see your research gap. But you have to make sure that whichever seed or whichever representative paper you chose is actually what you are like can represent the field. If not, you also be running in circles. Okay, so seems research map or lit map that you want me to sign in. So sign in. Okay, let me stop sharing. Okay, I think it's working now. Hopefully it should not disappoint me. Okay, so once you use that particular one, it gives you a seed paper, right, to create a map. So the map, what it's basically doing is giving you the connections of how close other papers are to that particular topic or that particular paper, okay? So you realize that, and the larger the circle, it means that more citations, right? So if I choose this particular one, it means it's connected to this other paper. If I choose this one, it's connected to that. If I choose this one, it's connected to that. You realize that in this particular area, they are more clustered. It means that whatever is going on there, whatever research area is going on there are closely related. But these two guys, right? This one particular and this one, although it's related to other ones, you see that it's quite secluded. So if you want to dig into, you can take these two, right? Or the one at the top, the one that are far away, although they have some connections, but that particular area looks like there's no work done there or very little work done there. You can also tag and, okay, so let me choose this one. And then what I can do is, I'll use that to what? Build a new map, right? Oh, I didn't sign. I thought I did. Okay. Let me try here. Okay, so let me create new list map. Upgrade, you have reached your limit. Oh, sorry. Okay, so basically you can play around with it, but here you can see there's a huge gap compared to here. This section is different from, you can also find more articles like that. You can add this to your account and then further explore those particular papers. But the whole essence of Litmap is to help you to see the, how do you call it? The research gap. Okay, so they are more close related to each other. It means that whatever you see for this particular session, they are together. Okay, it's as closely related as possible. So if you're a researcher who wants to add more, you can add more here, but it will be easier to add more here. But the challenge may be that you have fewer references, okay, or less data, because for this particular one, it's only 4 papers that's connected to you directly. So you can view the source and all that. Okay, any questions so far? Any questions? We've come to the end of the session. So consensus, size, space, Jenny. Oh, I didn't talk about Jenny. So Jenny is more for writing, okay? So let me quickly do that. Jenny AI. .ai. I think that's it. Yeah, so once you have everything, you can bring it to jenny.ai. You can upload the references also here. So it will rewrite the whole literature for you, cite the proper sources from the PDFs you have given it. Okay, so it will not hallucinate. Once you have done all the work, you know the right PDFs to use, the right literature to use. Bring the outline, everything into Jenny AI. Jenny AI will do everything for you and will cite it based on the, so you don't have to know where to put what. Once you make the statement, Jenny AI will find a suitable paper or resource that matches that particular point in your initial write-up. So after you've done your draft from here, you have this kind of system, topic 1, topic 2, topic 3, topic 4. You've written it just skeletal, right? Copy and paste everything in Jenny AI, and then upload the relevant papers that you've gotten from Scopus, wherever, put it there. Because it's an AI, it will read your sentence, make it better. Like you can ask it to put it in an academic tone, and then now it will select the paper that is relevant to that particular statement and cite everything for you as if you are the one writing it. So that's the last step. Jenny AI will help you. So if you have enough money, you can invest into Jenny AI also. But at the free level also, it's very good and that's a lot of work. I think I have exhausted everything I wanted to say. Some parts I move faster than some parts, pardon me, but I wanted all of us to get up to speed as much as possible, and I didn't leave anyone behind, hopefully. So we have a few minutes. Let's just ask some questions, comments, anything you want to say before we end the class. So I am done talking here. If there are no questions, but if there are questions, I'll keep talking. So I'll stop sharing. Questions?
Okay, Dr. Fred, thank you. And this Isaac. Please, snowball. I saw snowball in your outline, but I haven't had I think I had less of it. Please, can you
Oh,
touch on it briefly?
snowball. So snowball, usually you can use consensus. But what does snowball mean? It means when you download one paper, every paper has a references section, right? Like every paper has list of references at the end. So if you are interested, you can also go to those particular reference papers. Okay, let me just not talk out vacuum. Let me just give a typical example. I'll share my screen very soon. What do I mean by snowball? Okay, let me use this particular. So I'm sharing my screen in a moment. Okay, so this paper is maybe it came up as one of the papers that I downloaded, right, from my literature search. When I go down, it has 28 papers. So if this is a very good paper and I want to also read other papers, let's say I don't know which other paper to read, I can start by reading reference 1, Barinov, go and download it. 2, 3, 4. That's what I mean by snowball. When you also go to these references, they also have references. So it's like a trigger effect. So you also look at those references. Those references also have references. So you keep going and you never stop. That's what we mean by snowball effect. But once you have the consensus app, if you download this paper or you see this paper in consensus, it can immediately tell you one sentence concerning each reference here. So you now know whether I should download it or not. So that's an advantage of consensus. But if you are doing it manually, then you will download 28. The 28 will also give you 35. The 35 will also give you 100. Then you are just going. Yeah. I hope that's clear. Any other question?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, so for the Jenny AI, you can create an account. So you can click login and create an account, and then you can start. Unfortunately, I don't know why my network is just tripping. Okay, let me see if it will work. So you click login at the top. At the login, you see sign up or sign in, something like that. And then you sign in, and then now you can start. Yeah. It says sign up here. I already have an account, so let me just log in and then I'll show you. But it's free, so I have to upgrade. Questions? Did I confuse anyone or I convinced everyone? Or I've discouraged everybody? That's why everybody is quiet. Feedback, questions? Questions. I like more questions than silence. Silence makes me start wondering, what did I say that they are quiet? Questions.
I think in one of your earlier submissions, you mentioned that usually when you generate some text from the AI, you would have to rewrite it in your own words or rephrase them.
Yes.
With Jenny, would you have to do that to every sentence that it comes with, or it's good to go?
It's good to go, but once you submit it for a paper, it will pick it up as AI, not plagiarism, but AI.
Oh,
So
okay.
what you can do is,
Then it's good to rewrite it.
yes, you can still change some. Paraphrase is also another art. Maybe we can look at another session for that. But I think there's also a paraphraser, but they still don't work. But once you do it, there's an art of paraphrasing. We'll have to just use another time for that. But at least getting the initial draft and now putting everything to Jenny. Jenny will outline everything for you. And then from there, maybe you can start talking with your supervisor. And then from the updates from the supervisor, you will also be doing the paraphrasing the same time, right? Yeah. So you start from scopus, consensus, or size space, right? Then you get the ideas. ChatGPT can give you the outline. Don't let it write it for you. Let it outline for you, okay? Once it outlines all these four together, you get your topic, use the system of the PEEGR, right? Once you have that, you develop the outline, quick drafts, maybe 2, 3, 4 pages, copy them. You can do it one by one if you want. Bring everything to Jenny, upload the corresponding papers, let Jenny outline everything for you, beautifully written. And from there, I think you can use 1 month to finish and submit it for your thesis. Yeah. Just by paraphrasing. Or if you have a paraphraser that works well, yeah. At this point, there's no plagiarism because everything there is your thoughts. Your thought is inside somewhere because you help the AI. Yeah, it's just the AI making it work for you. But once they check for AI, it will show that AI is there. So you have to tweak the AI part. More questions. I've put in the chat box. You're welcome. I've put in the chat box also the feedback form. So if you are convinced, you are not convinced, put it there for me. I'll not know who you are. It's anonymous. So please, let's all try and scan this and fill the feedback form. I think in 4 minutes we should close. But if there's any other special question, I'm still here to answer. I'll put the whole presentation in the chat box as well. Very soon. Let me do that before I forget. Questions? Oh, should I start calling names one by one? Questions?
No, you don't. I don't. I don't think you have to. I just want to say thank you for your time with us today. Apparently, this is my first time joining, but I think I've learned and relearned a lot of things that I didn't know. I just want to ask if the recording will be sent to the page. I mean, for the meeting, I realized that it was being recorded.
Yes, the recording will be sent depending on the size. If not, we'll upload it somewhere and let you have the link. Okay.
Okay, because I was thinking maybe the practical aspects could be trimmed and maybe for purposes of people who would want to go back and forth to just have some sort of practical aspect. Because of the internet too wasn't working well at a point in time, you had to go over that. So if at least the practical aspects could be made available, that would be much grateful. Thank you so much.
Sure, we'll make it available. Thank you very much, Os. Questions. I was expecting questions. Say me. I was expecting questions, but the room is very silent. It's making me worried. Questions, please. You can type it. You can open the mic. Feel free. Questions. Okay. We have 2 minutes, so if no questions, I'll just end.
Okay. I think mine is a contribution.
All right.
Yeah, so to add my voice to that of Paul's, they probably are not getting questions saying that the material was well presented and everybody was following. So going to watch it a second time, I think that will be good. So it's like it's sinking in, and that's why I think that most of my colleagues don't have questions. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much also for attending this program.
But then, can you take the? I think you made mention of some sites because there's still time and no one is asking. I think you made mention of some sites and one has to come before the other before finally you put it in Jenny to help you with the processing of the thoughts and then all that. Can you put it in a systematic way, at least
Okay.
for the benefit of those who might be confused as to what exactly to go?
Okay, so I'll quickly run through that. I think I put them in the chat already, but there's no systematic way for it depending on where you are. Okay, so let me put it this way. If you are at a stage where you don't have keywords, okay, you don't have keywords, you only have a topic or you only have a research area, then you should go to size space, okay, because we need to do our annotated review, right? So when you go to size space, just put in the topic your supervisor gave you, put it there. Now, size space will give you 10 top papers with a summary of whatever is going on in that particular field related to the topic. And then it gives you more and more papers as you keep going down, right? And if you, you want more papers concerning that particular, let's say paper 2, it will give you related papers on that, then you keep going. But once you develop your annotated table, which size space does for you, you can ask it any question. So problems, challenges, research gap, just keep adding to the list. So size space will give you everything in the Excel form. You can export it or copy and paste, right? So that's for size space. And then if you have questions, then you go to consensus. Okay, consensus, ask it a question concerning the field, right? So how can I go to space without a rocket? Just put it there. It will give you all the literature from there. So there you have questions you can ask the consensus app and it will give you the answers and all the PDFs. You will not get annotated from there, right? So whatever it gives you, you can pick it up and still go back to size space and get annotated from there. Okay, so this is how you can merge the two. Then Scopus. Scopus means you've read a lot, or you know some keywords within the field. So you went to Scopus and put everything there, and or not, nor anything, put it there. Once it gives you, then you export. Once you export, it gives you that initial author, keyword, introduction, blah, blah, blah. Then you now screen just by reading the abstract. Okay, this abstract doesn't look like what I'm looking for, 0. It looks like 1. It may look like 2. You do all those things, and at the end of the initial screening, maybe you have 10 papers. Go and look for the 10 papers wherever you can find them, or download them from the Scopus app. If it's open access, you get it. If you have institutional access, you get it, right? So you have those 10 papers. Now, you read those 10 papers and realize that only 2 is important. Then you take those 2 papers, 2 connected papers or lit maps. Look at that will be your seed paper. You can upload to the Lit Maps app. That paper you have, that you feel that this paper is the holy grail. I can use it to explore the whole field that I'm interested in. So you get it from, you get the edges, the research gaps, those areas you feel that you can explore more, those that are least explored, the people who are publishing more is there. Okay, so now you have an idea. So you can take one paper and still use it to explore more and explore more and explore more. So once you have the paper, you also have the references down there. You can do the snowball by reading. So it depends on your level. But however, depending on what you have, if keywords, then Scopus or Web of Science. If title or you have the topic, you can use typeset, or which is called size space, and the consensus app. So once you have done all this, of course, ChatGPT has given you an outline, right? Or you have an outline from your own thoughts. Then you consolidate all these by going to Jenny, because Jenny now has given you, you already have a structure that I told you, the peer gene structure, right? The points, the explanation, the example, you've done that, a brief skeletal like thing, okay? Then now you copy everything you have there based on, let's say, your 5 subtopics under the main topic, right? And maybe you may have 4 main topics under your literature review. And those, each of them have, let's say, 5 subtopics, and you've explained them briefly, point, explanation, example, and then repeat the process. Of course, research gap, expose those ones that you are sure you can solve. Put everything in Jenny AI or write it by yourself, okay? And then you have your first draft. And from there, just iteration from iteration, and then you have something to go with. That's if you are doing a narrative review or you are doing something in that line. But if it's systematic, it's a whole ball game together, right? So this is just to help us to start, just launch into the literature review from different aspects, from thematic to whatever.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. I am not happy because there are no questions. However, I think everything is clear. No keyword, side space by the field. Yeah. Okay.
No, I think it was just what you just said. I had to just share it.
Okay, yeah. So I'm cutting across because we are all different. Yeah, I'm sure there are some here in their final year, some are starting, so some don't even have a topic. So what I'm saying, they have to now go and think about topic and all that. So that's why I'm cutting it from all angles. But if you have topic, keywords, you have a structure, then Scopus is good for you. Generate a lot of keywords, and then you. Yeah, one other advice I'll give before we go is if you search within any of the search engines and your topic is not there, be happy. Don't be sad. Be happy. I'm encouraging you to be happy. I'm saying be happy because that could be your next paper's title. Nobody has published it. That's what the database is telling you. Okay, so that could be your topic, and now it will be like anybody who mistakenly Google something related to those keywords, every time only your paper will show up until somebody else publishes something similar. So every time you publish or you look for a particular topic and it tells you there's none in the database, be happy. Note that particular wording of the topic. Keep it and use it as your title. Your paper will stand alone for a long time within the field before someone either copies your style of wording. So that's just an encouragement. Usually when we see no or few results, we are sad, but be happy. Be happy. It's telling you that there's some gold there. So please dig deeper, right? Yeah. So thank you all very much. I hope we filled the survey form, okay? So it will tell me whether we need another class or not. If you don't say anything, then you will not hear from me again. All right, thank you all for coming. I think I'll stop the recording. Anyone can close us with a prayer, and then we can all go. Anybody?
Okay, let's pray. And so, Father, we thank you for your time with us this evening. We, as your children, have gathered here and learned a few things so far as research is concerned. We are asking for your wisdom. We are asking for your spirit of understanding, that may you guide us. Anyone of us that has learned anything here should move further in the space of academic writing. Help us and give us the grace to overcome the challenges when it comes to literature review and research novel. Thank you so much. In the name of Jesus that we pray thanksgiving. Amen and amen.
Amen. Hope to see you all in the next session, if there is.